Good morning, YouTube. Today I wanted to take some time and talk only about stablecoin investment and how that's played out with UST stablecoin versus other stablecoins and how that affected me or didn't affect me. And so I wanted to get right into that. So first we'll look at my one of my accounts that I have stablecoin in and see what that looks like. This account is Blockfi, and I have two stable coins, but pretty much one is most of the balance, and that is GUSD. GUSD is Gemini USD, and I'll add that to our list so we can look at that, kind of talk about the risks on that. I also have USDC. And UST is the one that lost its value completely that you might have heard about. And we'll talk about the differences between these and kind of what I see as change and how that changes what I'm going to do. And so in this account, Blockfi, I have this many GUSD. I get paid basically 7% on the first 20,000 of those that I have. And so everything over 20 basically is interest that I've earned. I can pull it out. It takes about 7 days to pull the money out. It goes directly into my bank account. And I also have a tiny bit of DAI, but that's kind of a fluke. And this is also a similar type of stablecoin to GUSD. And so let's look at these real quick. So let me show you Gemini USD. So if you look at Gemini USD, digital exchange and custodian allows you to buy and sell. So this is the asset that when you sell your Bitcoin that goes into, so that transactions can be completed quickly. You don't have to wait for like the 7-day bank transfer. Founded by Winklevoss brothers, which is the people that sued Zuckerberg when he did Facebook. Those are the people at Harvard that he worked with on that project for a while. And let's see what it's backed by. Gemini is the first dollar-backed stable to get backed by the U.S. regulatory body, and it's on the Ethereum network. So it says it's backed by dollars, 1 for 1. It says the Gemini dollar differs from Bitcoin and other currencies so that its value does not vary, and it's been around for several years. And don't get confused between that. So if you take a year's view on it, this is $1 and it only fluctuates to 0.03. That's a year, and you look at all time, pretty stable, high of 113, low of 90 cents. So it's been pretty stable. Now, that does not mean it's not without risk, but it's just talking about this particular stablecoin. Now, one other stablecoin that I have is USDC. USDC is has a guarantee of $1 withdrawal for every 1 USDC. Now, how do they make money? Well, they only pay. You can make about 7% interest on USDC, providing liquidity to the network. But it talks about who the founders are, what the coin is. Every unit of this cryptocurrency is backed by $1 held in reserve, a mix of cash and short-term U.S. Treasury funds. Okay. So the question you should have about any of these stable coins is if the backing is in cash and treasuries, how are they paying 7%? And that's really the question that has not been answered very well. They say it's from liquidity and trade and things like that, but you really don't know how they're making their money, and that is a risk. Okay. Now, UST is the one that recently depegged. And this was a stable coin backed by Luna, which Luna was a stable coin that represented the Luna ecosystem, which had hundreds of projects running on it. And their mechanism to keep UST at $1 was to issue Luna and back it with that. Back it with Bitcoin also. They had reserves. But this works like a bank does without FDIC insurance. And so what happened was, if you look at the 1-year graph, basically it's this way. You can look back to 2020 and all of a sudden it depegs and goes down to here. They codified it, things like that. But if you come down here in the instructions, in the what it is, stablecoin, scalable, founder, Do Kwon has created this situation before. So the reason I did not have any UST at this point and was because it was not dollar. It was an algorithmic right here, algorithmic stablecoin, and doing great. But what happens is Terra USD is a certain value, and if that value goes down, the backing goes down, and then if the front asset starts having a problem, the backing goes down further and further and further. It's kind of this self-perpetuating situation, and so that's more risk. And so I didn't have any UST. Now, to be honest, I was thinking, because of the 12% interest rate you can get on Celsius on UST, but I had not executed on that. And so I would have lost money at that point, but in this case, I did not lose money on the UST. Now let's look at this risk, okay? How does this change the situation? Well, prior to this situation, I would have said that you had I would say that you had low principal loss and maybe some moderate principal loss risks. And risk is what you have to look at your return regarding, because risk is basically your gamble. It's your odds on winning. And so when you sit down at that gambling table, the blackjack table, whatever, you need to know your odds of winning. Your odds of winning compared to your odds of losing is your net return. And so if you look at GUSDC, this is paying like 7%. Okay? This you can make like 7%. This was paying 12%. Okay? So if your odds of principal loss are approaching, let's say they're 2% or 3%, okay, then your net return is now only 4%. And that's in this risk. Now, the other problem that you have is you don't have much loss of use. You can get it out in about 7 days. So with these, there's really no loss of use here. You can pretty much get them out. Now, inflation is real, and inflation is going to affect all of these things, so they do not go up in value. So we're just going to put a reasonable 10% inflation rate in here. Okay? And the reason I'm putting 10% is if you average all of the inflation rates, like we've seen in other videos, the different calculations, we're not going to take the government's 7 point whatever, 8 point whatever, but we'll just average it to 10%. So that's the average inflation. Stress, if it's stressing you to own stablecoin, probably not worth it for you to own stablecoin, because this can affect your decisions. Emotional decisions can be an issue with any investment, not as much as stablecoin, I would say. But in order to mitigate these, you have got your interest. Now, what's the principal gain on a stablecoin? Now, you're talking about zero. There's no principal gain on a stablecoin, and there's no profit. So this is how a stablecoin kind of plays out, okay? UST had a higher risk here of principal loss due to the backing. You got the 10% inflation and the 12% return. And so this one had probably a lower risk of loss, 10%. So even at 7 or 12%, you're probably, losing around maybe 6% per year on this. But losing 6% is probably better than losing the 10% from inflation. And so people don't see this. So in general, people don't see inflation risk because it happens slowly. But currently, people see this. It's noticeable. It's always real, but right now it's noticeable. So what risk you're having to combat is this inflation risk, I think. And, how are you going to do that? And what's that look like? Now, if you look at other investments, you look at Warren Buffett, he just put money into Citi. Citi is paying, we'll say, an interest of 4.5%. Principal loss at the price it's at is probably small, but the difference between Citi and stablecoin is there is also a principal gain that can be net is probably closer to 0. You still have the 10% inflation, and so I would say he's probably losing maybe 5.5%, whereas with inflation he'd be losing 10 with just in cash. So this is a better move than some of the other things, most likely. And we'll talk about some stocks and some stock risks in another video. And I just wanted to share that with you. What moves will I make regarding stablecoin? I will probably reduce my holdings as I can for GUSD and USDC. It's probably not a significant portion of my portfolio. And so I have other things that really can mitigate that risk. Profit on rentals or profit on sales, things like that can actually offset that. And I'm kind of using this as more of a cash holding where I don't want to lose the full 10%. Maybe I'll only lose 3%, because I'm getting paid 7. So now I'm at -3 as opposed to that. And so that is okay as long as my principal loss is greater than my interest. Less than my interest, right? So I figured this is a very small chance, probably less than the interest that I'm making. So I just want to share this with you. Hope this helps you. Like and subscribe to the video if you will down below, and give me some comments on what you've been doing, or maybe some actions you've taken, and some ways this has helped you out. I'll talk to you later. Bye.